The fourth year of Damascus Road was marked by leadership development and transition. This church family that was gripped by love and growing in truth was glad to serve, and God made sure we had the opportunities to do just that. On an international level, Damascus Road sent 10 people for a week and a half in July to Kenya. They, along with some Kenyan friends, ministered in schools, slums, churches, and prisons. We watched with joyful gratitude as God's Spirit used each person on the team, strengthened by each other, and the encouragements and prayer support from those back in Maastricht. God was also busy at work in Limburg, and in August there was the largest group for baptism in the church's history. Various colors, ages, nationalities, and religious backgrounds, all now bound together in the death and resurrection of Jesus, and part of our already multicultural, multi-generational family. The university ministry, energized coming back from SFC Connect conference, began reaching out again to the influx of students with Income. In addition to their weekly drum night, they quickly began 7 student-led groups for peer leadership and discipleship. September brought a changing of the guard among the staff ranks. The church officially installed its first council of servant leaders, Jonathan Law, Patrick Ehrharber, Nellie Ibis, and Michael Christofiak, as well as new head pastors Matthew and Christine Lunders, who continued to receive the strong friendship and support of associate pastors Steve and Julie Kramer. But the founding pastors, Kent and Leslie Linaway, after investing years of life and love into the people of Maastricht, said their goodbyes as they temporarily moved back to the United States to raise more funds and prepare for planting more churches. Their farewell was as it should be. A lot of laughter, a few tears, and hearts full of praise to God for all He had done in His church. With the church entering a new season, God's Spirit sparked more desire for prayer. Previously, sporadic 24-hour prayer meetings at the Placentinos in Furen became a monthly mainstay, eventually growing to 48 hours each month. Students also converted an empty room in their house to be open for prayer. The church kept its focus on ministry through God's Word and Spirit, as well as a few visuals every now and again. Since its inception the previous year, the combined youth group continued to grow and provide space for youth to deepen friendships with God and each other. The teenagers and leaders had a blast on their first ever retreat. A few months later, the youth also began a more in-depth Bible study separate from their usual meeting nights, for those who wanted to dig even deeper. And drum was in full swing with another breakaway and a baptism in the chilly Maas River. Those in university group found plenty to do together. The church at large was not static either. The Connect groups were bursting at the seams while new leaders and hosts were being prepared for the groups to multiply. Despite a mild winter and lack of snow, Christmas and New Year came anyway, and Damascus Road joined in the festivities of the season. The Christmas Eve service kept Jesus at the center of our joyfulness, reminding us that the true light that gives light to every man came to the world, and from the fullness of His grace we have received one blessing after another. Small gatherings joined together to mark the end of 2013 and entrance of another year that would hold blessings of its own. But we couldn't resist a good excuse for a big bash full of food, so we held a New Year's potluck. Following the holiday season, the Connect groups jumped from 2 to 4, providing more space for newcomers and better coverage of the city. The Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, and City Center groups got off and running. More meals made, more conversations started, more prayers shared, and more jokes told. Damascus Road determined itself to be intentional in 2014 to living more like Jesus did. We, the church, as followers of Jesus, will love as Jesus loved, teach what Jesus taught, and obey as Jesus obeyed. So we began the Jesus Life Challenge, to read the biblical biographies of Jesus, listen to the sermons as we focus on His life, talk about what we're learning, and do the weekly action steps. No glitz or glamour, just being faithful to what He's asked. An initiative to provide food and other necessities for those who have lack in the area of Maastricht led to the development of the food package program. Each week, people could give money or non-perishable food items that end up in the hands of individuals and families in need. To raise awareness and money for the cause, 12 walkers did the 40-kilometer Swentebold March and brought in more than 2,000 euros of sponsorship. The food package team kept up the efforts and gathered items to sell on King's Day. The church also kept an eye on God's work abroad by giving toward the Kenya projects and other missions work. And a missions team came to support Drum for a week in March, bringing with it the familiar faces of Austin and Amy Mangum, as well as new faces. The second major leadership change for Damascus Road came in the spring. The Kramers, the founders of Drum and associate pastors, also transitioned away from Maastricht so they could raise funds in the United States. The church as a whole, and Drum in particular, honored Steve and Julie, along with Case and Selah, for their leadership and the culture of honor they instilled to the ministry. Ben Sprout and the other leaders within Drum took the baton, and the ministry kept in stride. Springtime also meant Easter. In addition to its regular morning meeting time, Damascus Road held an early afternoon meeting to allow more opportunities and more elbow room for people to commemorate the wonderful truth of Jesus' resurrection. In May came another remembrance of Jesus' death and resurrection with another baptism. Just less than a month later, the church held its fourth baptism of the year. God continued to grow his family, and throughout the year families had been growing. A wedding, babies born, babies getting ready to be born, plenty of reasons to rejoice with those who rejoice. As we grow, many go. More people have been sent out than those who stay. But each hello and goodbye we count as a blessing. God gives each their seat at this family table. Each has their place in this body. No individual can take the credit for the wonderful things happening in our church. We simply get to be grateful spectators of our loving, powerful God at work, now and throughout eternity to come.